Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about money and try to explain a couple things that become obvious as you get a little bit older. At least to me, they have. We don't control money, and we have no power over basically how much money is in the system. It's similar to like food or water. If you're in the desert and you're about to die, and you're really thirsty and you need water, uh, that drink of water is worth everything you have, because if you don't get the water, you're going to die, right? You're in the middle of the desert, it's 110 degrees, and you're dehydrated and you need water, or else you are going to die. So it's really just supply and demand. But if you go to Walmart, you can get 40 bottles of water for like $5 or $6. It used to be like $3. Now it's $5 or $6, or maybe even a little bit more. But the point is, it's just supply and demand, and you know you're willing to pay more based on where you are and based on the predicament and the situation you're in. The prices, though, of things are controlled by, the government. The central bank can just hit a button on a computer, and all of a sudden they can create more money. And that's, when I say money, it's fiat currency. So that's really why you've seen the prices of homes go up. I was looking at a triplex where I live. It sold for $200,000 in the year 2000, and now it's listed on the market for $1.2 million. So it's gone up 6 times in 24 years. That's a perfect example of how you can't print housing, right? You can't print gold. Well, you can actually print gold. You can mine for more of it, but it requires you to get an excavator and hire people and invest money into mining to go get the gold. The gold is in the ground somewhere, but you have to go get it. That's why gold is a precious metal. It does have some utility, but there's a proof of work around gold. You can't just snap your fingers and have an ounce of gold. If gold was a lot more available, same with diamonds. If all of a sudden an asteroid came and we had just a bunch of diamonds, the value of diamonds would go down because it would be plentiful. But because these things are scarce and they require work to go actually produce them or discover them or mine them, then you have a system where they hold their value pretty well. Now, the problem with money in fiat currency, primarily, you can look at Argentina, you can look at Venezuela, you can look at Turkey, all these countries that have had hyperinflation in the past, is that they just print money like nobody's business. And so if you're a normal person and you're exchanging your limited, finite time for fiat currency, there's no problem with that. But the issue is you have a limited amount of time, and then you trade your time for a piece of paper that the government can manipulate. And you can wake up one day and a gallon of milk can be 200 pesos, and then literally the next day it can be 400 pesos. And your wages on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis, or even a year-to-year basis for many people, do not change very much. Now, they might be somewhat inflation adjusted, but you're always kind of getting the short end of the stick on those deals. So maybe you get just like a small raise every year, but meanwhile the prices of goods in the economy are going up drastically. So really it's actually worse than, it's just theft is all it is. It is a form of taxation, but they're just stealing your time, because you're using your time to get resources, which are pieces of paper, which continuously lose value. So the pieces of paper become worth less in a real sense. Everything else that's not denominated in fiat currency, like I said, real estate or the price of gold or even the price of Bitcoin or the price of any real item, for the most part, food. Take a look at food. the price of those things just continuously go up. And it's not really that those things are becoming more valuable. It's that the dollar or the currency is becoming less valuable. So that's why the stock market just continuously catches a bid, irregardless of fundamentals, is that a lot of people have 401ks that they just dump money into, or they put their money in the stock market because they say, well, I don't want to have my money in cash because I know I'm going to get, inflated away. So that's why the stock market is just a continuous bid to the upside for the most part. And it does have dips here and there, but people tend to gravitate back towards dumping money into the stock market because they're trusting that over a long enough time horizon, they're going to get a solid return, which historically has been true. But a lot of this stuff is just, the fundamentals aren't really there, and all these companies are very highly valued, much more than they maybe should be, because people don't want to hold their money in the bank, or they don't want to have it in currency, and that's why people also put their money into precious metals or into real estate, because they know that you cannot print real estate, right? It takes work to create a house. You cannot just go like that on a computer and then print a house or a piece of land. Land is finite. It requires real work today to build a house. My grandmother's house, I think she said she paid $15,000 for it or something back in 1960 or 1963 or something. Okay. And basic house, but now it's worth like $1 million or close to $1 million. So it's not necessary. It's 100%. It's not that the house is a nice house. It's fine, right? It's a basic house. But the value of the currency that the house is denominated in has lost basically 95% of its value, or 90% of its value, right? Why did the house cost $15,000 50 years ago, but today it costs $1 million? Wouldn't you say that it's basically, you could build the same house today with the same materials, the same amount of labor, but the house back then cost $15,000, and today, if you had good money, today it would cost $15,000. But it doesn't. It costs literally, what is that? It's like almost 100x or 60 to 70x higher in nominal terms. Not because the house is nice, not because the house is a mansion or it got the house is really fancy. It's just because the money has lost its purchasing power because they keep pumping money artificially into the system and inflating away the prices of things. So that's why you have a great divide in the country, because if you did own real things, then you kept up with inflation, right? Your assets went up, the value of your portfolio went up, your 401k, your Roth IRA, your precious metals have gone up, your real estate portfolio has gone up. So you have these people that bought homes 30, 40 years ago, 20 years ago even, and they've just become rich through owning that asset class because they haven't been devalued. But if you're someone who has sat in cash, or you've never really been able to get into real assets, you're getting left behind because life becomes more expensive for you. And if you want to buy assets today, you don't get to pay the asset price of yesterday. You have to pay the asset price of today, which is this huge, huge number. I mean, I go on Zillow sometimes and I'm just like, what the hell? This is ridiculous. These houses are not very nice and they're close to $1 million. It doesn't make sense. Now that's somewhat because of where I live, in the greater Seattle area. So there's just more demand of people that want to live here. But it doesn't make sense, right? If you're not making a really, really great income, then it doesn't make sense to live here, right? Because it's just too expensive. You can't justify paying more than 100% of your income towards your housing costs. It's not going to work. It doesn't math out. So that's kind of the situation people are in, and I feel it too, because it's like, unless I make enough money to live here, doesn't really make sense to just permanently rent here or stay here, because you're never really going to be able to save much money. So much of your money is going to go towards, the things that you need just to survive, and you're not going to be able to save up much money. There's these mortgage payments on some of these houses are $7,000 to $10,000 or more per month. So you have to be making $250,000, I would say, a year before tax. If you're spending $10,000 a month on a mortgage, that's $120,000 a year just on a mortgage. So if you make $250 after taxes, maybe you have $200 or $180, and you're going to spend $120,000 just on your mortgage. So you're going to have to probably be making more than $250,000. And I don't know who's doing that. I mean, I don't make like a low amount of money, but if you consider what things cost, it's just ridiculous. It's like, this does not make sense, right? It's not going to work out. So it goes back to what I said in a couple other videos of, you either, if you're going to live in a higher cost of living area, unless you just want to live there and accept whatever your fate is, you have to earn enough money to actually have real purchasing power where you live. Because if you don't earn enough money in a higher cost of living area, you're going to get left behind. So, you can move and you can say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be able to make enough money to really live here. And you go to a lower cost of living area. At least there, you can have a decent chance of getting into a home for like maybe $250,000 to $400,000, and you can do that on a lot less money. But here, or in a higher cost of living area, if you're not making very, very good money, you're going to probably struggle just to pay your rent and all your basic expenses, because they're so much higher. It's probably $3,000 to $4,000 a month, I would say, is someone's expenses if they live in a higher cost of living area. Your rent's going to be at least $2,000. So a lot of your money is going to be eaten up by just basic living expense. And that's not owning anything, that's just renting something. So there's a great divide, right? If you happen to buy a house 30 years ago and it cost $100,000, now your house is worth $800,000-$900,000. It's still the same house. Now some new person has to come in and pay, basically close to 100% of their income just to live in that same house. So it doesn't pencil out for most people. Again, if you have the money, people will do that. But you guys let me know. I mean, I don't think that's crazy. You either have to live with a bunch of roommates if you're going to live in an expensive area, or you have to make a lot of money, or you have to have family, in that higher cost of living area, and you're living with family. Otherwise it just doesn't make sense. You're not going to be able to, you have to be able to suck out enough money to afford to live where you are. If you can't do that, it's not a good situation. So you have to say, okay, I'm going to relocate to a lower cost of living area because I can actually afford to do it on my own steam. Right? I mean, I look at some of these, you guys go on Zillow, go to Seattle, or you can go, probably Portland, Oregon, or anywhere in California, or a lot of places in Florida, New York, Massachusetts. I was born here, but it's just ridiculous. I don't know how people with normal jobs can afford to even buy like a condo here. An old piece of shit condo is $500,000. It's not even nice. It needs updating. You're part of a condo, it's not nice. It's $500,000 or more. And even just a total starter house is $600,000-$700,000 for a starter house. 3-bed, 1-bath, small, outdated, needs updating, smells weird. $600,000-$700,000. So you look at that, and you're like, well, what the hell? This doesn't make sense. First of all, I don't make enough money to afford these crazy prices. And then even if I were to buy something here, it's a piece of shit, right? Anything less than like $1 million is a piece of shit for the most part, or certainly anything less than like 7 to 800,000 is kind of a piece of crap if it's in this general area. So you look at that, you say, well, oh my God, what can I do to make more money? I think I'm making pretty good money, but the money doesn't buy much. The prices of everything keep going up faster than I can earn money. So I either have to make way more money, somehow I got to make way more money, or I have to move myself to a lower cost of living area. And that's my predicament. That's where I'm at. I thought I was making pretty good money until I looked at what everything cost. And it's like, this is fucking crazy. I'm never going to be able to afford any of this stuff at what I'm getting paid currently. It's just, it doesn't work out. The math is not there. It doesn't work. So you gotta significantly improve your income or relocate to a much lower cost of living area, and maybe out of the country. If you can do something online, work remotely, there's a lot of places outside of the country that are way more affordable, and the quality of life, the food is a lot better, and so it's something to consider. But you guys let me know what you think. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but comment, you can like it, you can subscribe. We will see you on the next one. Take care.